Hi, Lynn. Hi, Chip.
Morning, Brent.
Hi.
Morning, Chip.
Hi,
Morning,
Sue.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see all of you.
I feel like we're in the program part.
How's Steve?
Doing well. He's sitting here where he can hear. We're having usually the Wi-Fi will let both of us be on just long enough for meeting for worship, and then it wants to kick one or the other of us off. But this morning it's not wanting to let both of us on for any length of time. So he's here where he can hear, but you're not going to see him today. He's doing better each day.
Interesting.
How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Doing well. I don't, occasionally I'll have just a tiny blip of something that I'll think might be a COVID symptom, and then it goes away right away. So I'm really, really over it.
Great.
I'm over it in lots of ways, but I seem to have, seem to be much better physically.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah, me too.
Sue, I just sent her a big package of mail.
Sue, could you hear what Steve just said?
No.
He's just put a big package in the mail to you, church mail. So watch out for it.
That's
Morning, Dan.
to
Morning, Sylvia.
Good morning.
Morning.
Chip.
So what's the temperature up at Quaker Haven?
Let's see, it's not much different than there.
Oh, really?
It looked colder out on the lake.
Oh, so this says 8 degrees, so yeah.
It was really quite pleasant out on the lake yesterday. We were pleasantly surprised.
So she didn't push you through an ice fishing hole or anything?
We did not fall into any of them.
There were several fisher tents on the lake and a few snowmobiles.
Robin enjoys watching the ice fisher people out there.
There was about 8 or 9 inches of snow on the lake, so it wasn't the nicest walking.
Mm.
From I think it was Wisconsin this week. A bunch of ice fishermen were out and the ice broke away and was floating out into the lake, and they had to be rescued by the Coast Guard. Yeah, there were like 12 of them on this big floe.
Wow.
It was on one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That didn't sound that much fun to me.
No.
Sylvia, I enjoy your red for Valentine's Day.
Oh, thank you, thank you. See my necklace?
Ooh, pretty.
That was a gift from Paul, our Polish exchange student when he was there. How many years ago was that?
Long time
20?
ago.
Yeah. It's about the only time of year I wear it, but I like it. I have to polish it up once in a while. It's silver.
Sylvia has to do something for Valentine's Day, because I'll confess I'm not very good at those things.
What could be better
You
than
and me
having,
both.
nothing could be better than having breakfast ready when I got up, though. That was nice.
That sounds wonderful.
I said happy birthday or happy Valentine's Day to Nancy, and she goes, "Oh, it's Valentine's Day. I forgot."
So there you go.
But I was sick all day yesterday, so I didn't get out to get stuff. But so she walks out, and she had bought me all kinds of stuff on her trip for Valentine's. So she forgot, but she was ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good morning, Lori.
Dan Berger.
I think. So Lynn, how's Steve doing today?
Doing well. He's waving at you. He's here where he can hear. Our Wi-Fi is being weird this morning and not wanting both of us to be on, so we decided I'd watch and listen, and he'd just listen. But he's doing well, working on getting his strength back and that kind of thing, and all. So coming along. Every day's a little better than the one before.
Still taking antibiotic for the pneumonia?
No, got a boatload of other medications that he's taking, partly to help his lung function, which is not real good. His oxygen level stays in the mid-90s where it's supposed to be, even when he's up and around, but he can't deep breathe very well and things like that at this point. So he's got a variety of medications to help with that. And then, of course, one of the side effects of one of the medicines was thrush in his mouth. So he's got that, and his mouth is so sore he can hardly eat. And, you know, so it's kind of one of those deals where you cause a problem with one hand and you try to fix it with the other hand. And that's a nuisance, to say the least. But all in all, doing well.
Good, good.
Does he have the incentive spirometer?
Yes.
The suck-on tube, as much as I hated that thing for the times that I had pneumonia, that was probably the most effective thing to improve lung capacity.
Yeah.
And now I use it to check, if I start feeling bad, I go grab it out of the hall closet and see if I can still suck 3,500 milliliters.
He's got one of those, and he uses it every so often, and it is a big help. You're right. Kind of gives you a marker of this is where I was and this is where I am now, kind of thing, and that's very helpful.
Morning, Dale from Deep Freeze, Iowa.
Yeah.
How
It is.
deep are you?
You know, I haven't looked this morning. I didn't get above 0 yesterday, and it's, I think I can look. You know. I have actually looked because it's below 10 below. I know that. So.
Well, it feels like that here.
Yeah. Well, the wind is blowing. The wind's kind of blown our driveway shut again, so I don't know. I've gotten out.
Our son called us from Seattle yesterday. They have 12 inches on the ground in the city.
Wow.
That's rare.
Mm.
It was on the news last night.
Lauren, what can you tell us about Ruth? Is she getting along okay?
Well, she remarkably came out of that stint in the hospital, and she's doing okay. But it's all with all the rules and everything, you know, she's still pretty isolated. But Beth had permission to take her to a doctor's appointment, which she did. And she's your oldest member of the meeting.
Yeah.
Tough. She's a tough lady.
We hope she continues in that role for a good while.
It's been a year ago since Charles died, right?
Yes. Yep. It's just about a year ago, the memorial service. I think that he died also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although there's other words for that, like transitioned or
That's right.
whatever.
It was a year ago today that Mom passed away.
The physical body is just a clay shell for the spirit.
And I miss them both a lot. Probably would even more so if we were going every Sunday and they weren't there.
Well, that's supposed to be the definition of community, is when you're missed if you don't show up. And I don't show up very much myself.
I miss you too. Hi, Norma.
Hi, good morning. Is it cold and snowy where you are?
It is cold and snowy up here at Quaker Haven where we are. I was telling people we walked,
Okay, I didn't
took our
know.
walk on Dewart Lake yesterday. That's how cold it is.
Okay.
Does
Didn't
anybody,
have your skates on though, did you?
No, I didn't play the skating song.
does anybody skate on Dewar Lake?
You could if there weren't 8 inches of snow on top of it, maybe. You have to scrape it off, which we've done before. When we were up here at Christmas time, we had a frozen lake at least once, and we just did what it took to make us a place to skate. So shovels and brooms and it's
Ice
not-
skating is a great way to break up the winter for kids, but you don't see it much anymore. Of course, it's warm, with global warming, maybe you can't see it.
Brandon told us yesterday he thinks the ice is about 12 inches thick right now.
Wow.
He said just 2 weeks ago it was 3, then it was 6, and here it is already about 12. So
Yeah.
there are people driving on it, and driving their cars and trucks.
I skated
That
out
was the
there.
rule in our neighborhood growing up, is that if the guy down the road with the Ford Bronco with the blade on the front couldn't plow the snow off the pond, then it wasn't thick enough for 10 kids to go play hockey on.
Yeah.
What,
I've done a lot of ice fishing. But people around here do a lot of ice fishing. They get out on it. I
Dinah.
see these little huts all over the lake.
Yeah. Dinah, you look like a Valentine.
Well, yeah, see, look at all these hearts.
Yeah, dressed in your ruffly chair.
Yeah.
We asked Brandon yesterday how his father-in-law is getting along. He's been very critical for over 3 weeks on a ventilator, and they just don't know yet what direction that's going to go.
Wow.
Severe lung damage. Is that right? That's what I heard.
That's what you heard.
Yeah, that's what he had told me when he contacted me to tell me he was keeping Steve in his prayers and that his father-in-law wasn't doing well.
Sylvia and Dan, are you staying up in Quaker Haven for a while or
One more hour.
1 more hour? Okay.
He's home.
Gonna head
Just
back.
wondering with the storm that's supposed to come in.
I thought we'd try to get there before it did.
Good plan.
I need to be online with the William Penn board tomorrow. Don't know how many hours that'll be, but that's the board meeting tomorrow. So I wanted to be a place where I probably could get the internet.
how's William Penn doing?
Actually, pretty well. Amazingly so. They have an increase in enrollment again for the 2nd year in a row. They have to build on to a new dorm because they don't have enough space for the students they have. I mean, they're building on to an old dorm, renovating an old dorm so that they have more space. We have to give a lot of credit to the industry next door. Musco is the company that developed, Caroline can help with this. Musco is the company that developed, starting at William Penn, the technology to do the night lighting for football games and construction crews. That was first built at at William Penn with professors and students there. And now it's quite a successful business. And they keep us afloat to about $6 million a year. So that helps a lot.
But isn't student enrollment down right now during the COVID
No,
on campus? The on campus.
they are on campus, but they're also doing some online. They've been doing online learning for years, so it was not a big adjustment for that. No, they have about 1,200 students, which is up from where it's been for the last several years.
Excellent.
Feeling very encouraged.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah. Hi, Dave.
About time to begin. Are there joys or concerns to share?
Happy anniversary to Susie and Bob, who were married 53 years ago, I think, today on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Well, I have a concern. My friend Troy, who is staying with his stepfather up in Warsaw or somewhere, their house burnt down this week.
Oh my goodness.
They're okay, but everything was lost.
Where are they staying?
With Troy's Aunt Bev, Jack got out with just one shoe and they had to go to Goodwill and buy clothes. I mean, they're okay, but Troy lost all his mother's things. So that was a real sad thing.
Okay, I have a concern. Some of you may know the Rather family in Decatur Township, Dave Rather. He was a teacher and a coach and athletic director at Decatur High School for many years. And he has been battling cancer for 9 years, and he did pass this past week.
I got word yesterday from my mother that my Aunt Ruth, which was Dad's sister, passed away at the age of 90-ish, 93-ish. And that leaves Mom as the sort of sole survivor of that generation. And she turns 87 in April. It wasn't a sad thing. Aunt Ruth had dementia for some time.
Let's hold these people in the light and God's love as we center into worship. I'm the worship leader this morning, so I will speak out of the silence as led. If we could all put ourselves on mute for the feedback issues, that would be helpful. Well, as we were talking earlier, today's Valentine's Day. Dinah, I think, wins the award for most hearts on her clothing. Hearts and flowers and candy and cards abound. Turner Classics and Hallmark Channel are featuring nonstop romantic films. I can take Turner Classics. I'm not always good at Hallmark. Nancy has a heart.
For you.
Yeah, this was my Valentine. Even Lawrence Welk show rerun last night was all love songs, which I don't know why, but I've gotten into watching Lawrence Welk on Saturday night because my grandparents always did. It reminds me of them and reminds me of me sitting on their living room floor poo-pooing how bad that music was. And last night it was really bad. All these love songs that it just had the life sucked right out of them. The Beatles, She Loves You, yeah, yeah. It was just horrid. Still, for all the chatter about romantic love on this day, there's often a love I overlook on Valentine's, and that is the love that comes from the great lover of our souls. I often forget that I'm a child of a God of radiant love. I mean, I think we all know that God is love, but we tend to forget just how magnificent and, in a good way, overwhelming that love is. And we don't often associate it with deeply passionate love. But God is deeply and passionately in love with all of us, and not just as a collective humanity sort of thing. God is not Linus Van Pelt of Peanuts fame, who declared to his sister, "I love mankind. It's people I can't stand." Well, God can stand us. And even more than that, he loves us individually and deeply. There are a number of ways I think that we know and could see how God loves us. And one that is coming up, even though we Quakers don't celebrate liturgical holidays per se or seasons, are the coming weeks of Lent and Easter. As we move through this time, liturgical people often refer to the passion of the Christ in this time, a phrase that may make us a little bit uncomfortable in the sense of thinking of Christ as a passionate lover of us. And yet, it does seem to me that as we look upon the life and teachings of Jesus, and then the cross and resurrection, as incomprehensible as they may be as far as what their theological meanings are, is it, how does atonement work? How does this happen? That what we can be sure of is there are examples of how God looks upon us and cries, "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you." God, I think, besides being a being of radiant love, who reaches out to us, knows that we need to see that love in action as well. besides the incarnation of Jesus, I believe God shows us this radiant love every day through the kindness of our fellow travelers, the unexpected little graces that come into our lives in the midst of the various mist we find ourselves fumbling through. I think that's especially true in these COVID times when we can feel isolated, and yet we have opportunities like this where on Sunday morning we get together and gather, we see each other's faces, and we know that even though we're not sitting in the same room, we are loved and cared for by those whose faces we see. There are all around us people of faith who, in the midst of darkness, doubt, despair, joy, happiness, and light, say to us on God's behalf, I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm sure you can think of people in your own lives who have been that way in the past and even now, that just exemplify that great, great love of God. Sometimes when I forget how much God cares, I turn to poetry. To me, as I've said before, poetry is often a prayer. In other ways, it's just a wonderful reminder. And one of my favorite poems, and it means even more to me now that I'm living and have been for the past 2 decades on this piece of property that God saw fit to plop me on, even though when I first got plopped, I wasn't too sure this was the Garden of Eden. I thought maybe it was somewhere west of Eden. You know, the Garden of Eden's east. I thought, well, maybe he dropped me the wrong direction as a city boy. But Christine Kelly has this poem called Unrequited Lover. It says, every day I walk by your house bringing you flowers, sunsets, butterflies, the Big Dipper. I hide just around the corner, planning to catch your smile of surprise, and then would rush right out and grab you in my arms, and we'd laugh and talk and find delight in each other. But I piped for you and you did not dance. I wailed and you did not mourn. Yet all I wanted to do was give you my kingdom. Every day I walk by your house and bring you flowers. When I'm remembering that deep love, I remember also that it's a love that is worthy of response. How do I respond to that love? One way is I need to take time to just talk to the great lover of my soul and allow him to speak with me, to teach me how to be holy, even as imperfect as I am, to be alone and bask in that love, and then to reach out and express that love and service to others and to the community of which I'm a part, to be a model even when I don't feel like it, or especially towards people who annoy me, of what it means to love and to be loved. Another thing I'm finally learning about love, including God's great love, is that I can relax in God's love. It will never be withdrawn. It will be there. I remember as a child relaxing to the great love of my parents and grandparents, being held on their laps and rocking chairs. There was no doubt of that love, and I could relax. And that's one thing I always need to learn to remember, to relax in God's great love. So as I think about Valentine's Day and how it concerns God and me, the first is that God pursues and woos me with an unending love. And the second is that my response needs to include spending time with God and then going out into the world and shouting to the world on God's behalf, I love you, I love you, I love you. Every day, I walk by your house and bring you flowers, sunsets, butterflies, the Big Dipper. I hide just around the corner, planning to catch your smile of surprise. And then would rush right out and grab you in my arms, and we'd laugh and talk and find delight in each other.
Several years ago, when I was a camp director, here at Quaker Haven, And we were sitting at the sunset in Vespers. Quite a challenge sometimes to teach children what it's like to sit in silence and wait for God to speak to you. But a young girl, 12 years old, whose mother and grandfather had been killed in a terrible automobile accident just a few months before that, rose and spoke about the love of God. And she said, here as we are sitting around this campfire on these logs in the silence, but hearing the waves of the lake on the shore, I think of how that's like God's love. The waves continue to come over and over and over again without stopping. Sometimes they're small and gentle. Sometimes when it's windy, they come very fast and forcefully. And I feel God's love more strongly than when they're gentle. But sometimes, even when I turn away from God and I'm angry, like I was a few months ago when my mother died, God's love is still coming. I can turn away from him and deny him and be angry, and God's love still comes. I don't know what she would say with the ice-covered lake and you can't see the waves coming. When we walked on the lake yesterday, I thought about this story and wondered how she would continue it when this whole body of live water was still. And he saw the ice fishermen. And I remember that there is still life beneath that hard shell. And I believe that God still loves us under those hard shells as he loves everyone, even when we can't see through it very well. Pretty profound for a 12-year-old. Has taught me a big lesson.
In Brent's message, how do we respond to the great love of God? And he gave us 3 items. Take time to talk to him, reach out and express that love, and then relaxing God's great love. I made a note to self that involves the second item of reaching out. So my note to self says, whom shall I reach out to this week?
We have come to the end of our scheduled time. Are there closing thoughts that folks would like to share before we say goodbye?
I could say, this morning I went out to breakfast with a friend of mine who has strong religious beliefs, but no religious community. And that's not always a great place to be, I think. And I am reminded that when two or more are gathered together, then there is love. And that the community that we have here and in my other meeting and so many other places is like it provides an opportunity for grace for which I am very grateful.
Take care, friends. Stay healthy as you can, and hope to see you all a week from today.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Stay warm.
Giant hug,
Thank you,
a
Brent.
giant virtual hug.